Hey Matthew, welcome.
Hi, can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you perfectly. Got good audio, got good visual. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Cool.
I'm just
So,
sharing the links to my page here. But
fantastic. You do that.
yep.
While you're busy doing that, I just wanted to welcome everybody who's with us. Hopefully, the audio issue is now resolved. Okay, Meg, thank you. Meg says they can hear. You can hear me now. All right, super. So we're talking starseeds today, and this wonderful man with me is Matthew John. So we're going to be hearing about starseeds from his perspective, and it would be really lovely to get another voice talking about this wonderful topic. And if any of you have got questions, you know that that's what the comment section is for. If you're going to be listening to this on the replay on YouTube, then by all means put your questions there as well. I know that we love answering questions, and people like Matthew and myself get very excitable when we talk about topics that are very close to our hearts, such as this one. So, for those of you who are listening, do you know that you're a starseed? Are you a starseed? And do you know what a starseed is? Because that's what we're going to be hearing about. Welcome, Matthew. I see you wearing you've got the t-shirt and you're wearing it.
Yes, yes. I just there we go. Now you can
Very
really see the text.
starseed.
Yes,
so,
yes, yes.
so the opening question was going to be, where are you from? But your t-shirt's kind of telling us where you're from.
Yeah, I've been there and I got the T-shirt, so I'm all set.
But you
And
have
I
not yet
also
worn it out.
no, not yet. And I also do identify as an Andromedan starseed as well.
Right.
So those are the two that I feel most closely connected with. And what about
Fantastic.
you, Kerry?
Um, Definitely Lyrian, and from Lyria, or from Lyra, just very much like my Earth self, a cosmic traveler.
Mm.
So yeah, so I definitely can tell you many interesting stories about many varied and interesting places.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's another topic for another day. Matthew, I want to start with your perspective. Let's start with the most basic question, and that is, what is a star seed? I think people perhaps don't always understand it or even glamorize, what is a star seed? So help us understand from your perspective what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to preface this is just from my perspective, and I don't know if there's anyone out there who has 100% the entire truth of everything as far as this topic, because just like everything on the spiritual journey, it's mysterious and there's a lot of paradoxes. So this just comes from my years of research and my experience, especially working with clients directly and taking them on journeys, guiding
Right,
them on journeys to their home planets. So
right,
to me, a star seed means that your soul, which is by nature multidimensional. So where we can get tripped up in trying to understand what a star seed is by going over the fact that the soul is multidimensional, and none of this is linear at all. None of this is linear,
yeah,
and your soul may have aspects that are incarnated in different bodies, and one of them may be you here listening to this broadcast or watching this broadcast, and there may be another you that's somewhere else, even on Earth, and there may be another you that is somewhere else incarnated, whether in a past timeline, a present timeline, or even a future timeline on another realm in a higher vibrational part of the universe. So, when we talk about the Pleiades and we talk about Sirius and we talk about Lyra and we talk about Andromeda, these are places where the dimensional frequency is already either at the fifth dimensional frequency or above. So you may have aspects of your soul that are incarnated in these other places. And it's actually quite common, not always. I haven't found this to be a universal thing, but it is quite common that people can be more than one. So they can be, you
yeah,
can be Pleiadian, there can be a Pleiadian self, there can be a Syrian self, there can be a Lyran self and a Syrian self, or like me, a Syrian self and Andromedan self. And there's so many different options, really.
mm,
I have a client who is a mantis extraterrestrial
mm,
starseed, and that was quite fascinating last week when we did the starseed journey with him. It was mind-blowing to kind of, get a glimpse of life over there. So, and so that's just kind of the basic overview of, all right, so your soul, it has aspects of it incarnated in other realms, and it could be past, present, or future. It's as trippy as it sounds. And that part of you, the extraterrestrial part of you, or parts of you, is or are aware of coming into this earth vessel. And coming into this earth vessel requires taking on the karma of the ancestral lineage that you're coming into. And what we found is that the selves, the extraterrestrial selves, they do this with joy and out of service to take on some of this karma to help transmute it. And the reason being is because in this ascension lifetime, which for many of us, for myself and you and many listening, this may be our final lifetimes on earth. It may also not be, but for a lot of us it is. And the ascension lifetime is kind of the culmination of all of our previous lifetimes on earth, and it's kind of the master's program, so to speak. And the starseed itself may decide to take on some of that earthly karma to help, knowing that the codes and the higher dimensional wisdom that comes from the starseed itself, comes into the DNA, comes into the cells to be awakened at some point in life. And that really helps the human self to transmute the karma quite quickly, to really kind of speed ahead in this lifetime on the spiritual journey, and really kind of get caught up with where Gaia is at on her journey. Because we need to really, from my perspective, Gaia is leading all of us, and we really are the ones that are kind of accelerating our own journeys to move ahead and to catch up with her, so that we can all help all of humanity to ascend. So that's another aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is that, let's say on Sirius or on the Pleiades, what was your role? What was your role over there? What was the role of the star-seeded you over there? And, for some people, it's as healers and teachers, and some people it's as builders, right? And whatever your role was or is over there, you kind of take some of those memories into this earth vessel, and whatever your service work is in this lifetime, you can be sure that there is a relationship between that and your role. I don't want to call it work, because to the higher dimensional extraterrestrials, there really isn't anything work. There's no such thing as work. It's just service, or it's just doing, and it's all out of joy. It's all out of love, and out of the desire to help the community, right? So whatever that is on that other realm, you tend to take into this lifetime. And that's why, when you go online and you look up, Syrian starseed traits, Pleiadian starseed traits, Lyran starseed traits, for example, each one has their own different traits. Like, the Syrians tend to be, Syrians, there's a lot of people in entertainment that are Syrians. A lot of people in entertainment on television, actors, comedians, and all that. We tend to be very into the entertainment, and also healers. We tend to be the direct energy healers. The Pleiadians, if you look into the kind of sexual awakening community, the tantric community, you can be sure those are probably Pleiadian starseeds. The Pleiadians are really good with relationships. They're really good with all that. The Syrians are really connected to the ocean. The Pleiadians might find themselves a little more connected to the mountains. There's all sorts of differences, and it's wonderful, because it becomes a part of our personality, just like our souls have personalities as well. And that also plays into our own personality. But our starseed itself, that whoever that is, we find parts of their personality in ours. So I know that was a lot to answer, but yeah.
No, but that's great. That's great. Thank you so much, because you really do give us a lot of background and a lot of insight and understanding into today's topic. So one of the things that I've just gleaned from the beginning of this conversation is you must do some kind of a reading, right? You must do some kind of intuitive reading where you're connecting with people and obviously checking in on what their starseed traits are.
Yes, that's part of it. I do. As one of the things that I offer what are called Starseed Discovery sessions, and we discuss really, first whatever intuitive hits I might get as far as what your specific starseed race is, and I'm generally spot on, but once in a while I'm not. Once in a while I'll miss here and there. But it's a guided journey. I guide people on a journey. It's an astral journey to their home planet, and we really never know where they'll go. We do not know where they'll go, and it's always fascinating. It's always fascinating. And we bring back, I have a whole file of notes from people's journeys, and perhaps someday I'll turn that into a book. I've only been doing these starseed journeys for the past 9 or 10 months.
Wow.
It's something that just came to me last year, something to add to my repertoire of the type of work that I do. And it's one of my favorite things that I do. Yeah. So we get a lot of information from people's experiences on these journeys. And we always find out for sure. To me, it's the most accurate way to find out, because we're using the vehicle of someone's consciousness to travel and to really find out. And I also find that it's so valuable for the person doing the journey, because they have this direct connection now with their star-seeded guides or with their extraterrestrial self. Whereas, to me, it's more direct than, getting just perhaps a birth chart reading, which I find fascinating as well. And there's people out there who do those, and I don't know how to do those, but props to the people who do the starseed birth chart readings, because that's fascinating as well. But to me, this is an even more direct type of work, because the people go there on their own.
So you're not going into the Akashic. The person's cellular memory is being drawn upon, and that's where the information is coming from, right?
The way I would put it is this is an intention-based universe, of course, and life is an intention-based mechanism. Mm-hmm. So we use the mechanism of intention and the belief that it's totally possible. And I will just tell you that I don't know how it works, but it always works. And the person always ends up going to either their home planet or one of their home planets. And sometimes, for example, we'll get the Syrians come to pick up someone, and they end up going to Lyra. Right. or the Pleiadians come and they end up going to Syria. So and that's because they may be more than one. And I just, through the power of intention, and I guess knowing that we only have an hour to do the work, that's what ends up happening. It's quite fascinating, and people really describe feeling emotional reactions all the time, like crying or feeling, overcome with tears of joy, or that feeling of being reunited, from the sadness of the separation to then being reunited, and just that pure joy that comes with that. And then when they leave, feeling kind of like, oh, I'm going to miss these people, my family. It's that feeling of family. That's the number one thing that people really feel emotionally when they do these journeys, is it's family. You're being reunited with your another family that feels even truer and even more like family than your mom and your dad and your sister and your husband and your wife. It's indescribable, really.
Assuming that your mom and dad and sister aren't starseeds that journeyed with you, because they could.
Yes, of course. That's a very interesting point, and I will say that as of now, I can only think of maybe one situation where it may have been the case. What I have found more commonly is that the person who is the starseed, their birth parents aren't necessarily either that, or we just haven't dived into that part. And that's a very interesting point. But because a lot of people do come from a lot of trauma, it's a very common thing for light workers to come from a childhood of really nasty stuff. It's so common. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because it's just like I said, in this ascension lifetime, it's the accelerated master's program. So there's really a lot of karma to be transmuted in a very short period of time. Yeah. So to me, this is just my current understanding. I could be totally wrong on this. But to me, in general, usually the parents are perhaps not star seeds yet in this incarnation, perhaps in a future incarnation. But this is not universal. I'm saying this is a common pattern. And absolutely, I do believe that, yes, there are situations. Yeah,
for sure.
There are situations where the parents are star seeds as well as the child. And it may be that the parents are not programmed to begin their awakening process until later in life. Because here's the thing, in general, this is why in general, couples don't kind of awake. They awake at different rates, so to speak. One will usually zoom ahead and the other will kind of lag behind. And a lot of times that creates a vibrational dissonance, and there's a breakup that just has to happen, vibrationally speaking. And the reason is, in general, I've found that two people that are in a couple, or even families, more than one generally doesn't wake up like that at once, because if it were to happen, it would just be too much. It would cause a lot of chaos. So that's what I've found with that.
Yeah.
But not universal. It's not universal. Not universal.
Well, this is the thing. There are no rules. There is no script. In fact, we're breaking the rules every single day. But yeah, I do understand what you're talking about in your understanding of working with starseeds. I hear that you're doing your readings, you're using intention and belief as your guide, which I think is a really powerful way for some people to work. I feel like people have this misconception, though, that starseeds are from places that they know the names of. For example, we know the name Sirius, we know the name the Pleiades, we know Orion's belt, we know Rigel, we know Andromeda, but what about the names we don't know? How is it that all the starseeds seem to be from that part of this Milky Way galaxy, where we just happen to be familiar with the names? What about the planets that we don't know the names of?
I would say this. Well, first of all, one thing to keep in mind is that when we use the names Pleiades or Sirius or Andromeda or Lyra or any of those, these are describing star systems which have many planets, many planets. And one of the things that I have found, like, very often people end up going to a Pleiadian planet, and there's one planet or a number of planets that look very, very much like Earth, very, very green, very vibrant colors. And then there's another planet, and I know that this is a real place because at least 4 or 5 people have already gone there, and without any suggestion, where it looks very pink, and it's actually very desert-like. It's almost like the planet in Star Wars where Luke was on at the beginning of the first movie, the fourth.
Yes. I
forget if someone can comment. Yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So we're describing these star systems. I mean, look at all the stars around this, and it's a star system. Sirius, as we know, has Sirius A and Sirius B, and there are definitely more than one planet that are going around each of those star systems. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But the other thing is that it's my understanding that these are the star systems and the extraterrestrial races that are most commonly interacting with Earth. So these are the ones that are most commonly helping in this ascension process, helping out this lab experiment that is the Earth.
Yeah.
Now, there may be something to exactly what you're saying. And I love that you're asking really kind of very journalistic questions. As a former journalist, I'm very impressed.
Already a former journalist. Wow.
Well, not professionally, but just, high school and all that. But that, yes, it may be that there are others out there that we're just not commonly aware of. And it may, for example, the mantis is not that common of a one. And like I said, there was a client last week that we went there, and it was totally real and totally mind-blowing. So I would say that it's quite possible that there's more that we're just not acutely aware of. There are some good websites where there's a list of, I would say, about 20. There's about 20 that we kind of are really aware of, and that we're aware that there are star seeds from. Whether there's more, I don't know. As I said, this is, I'm just giving you what I have up until now, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Look, to be fair, I don't know if you know this about me. I also do readings. So I understand, I speak this language. So when I do a reading, I do something called a soul reading. And in a soul reading, it's really looking at the overall life journey of the soul being. So it includes where they're from, where they're going, why they're here, and so forth. So we generally go into a bit of the Akashic information just in terms of where the soul has been. But here's the thing is, I'm very well aware that there are literally billions of not stars, but planets that make up only our galaxy. You are 100% correct when you say, yeah, but we do draw from the Syrians, the Pleiadians predominantly. But there are a lot of people who are from systems that we've never even identified or heard of before. So I think it's important in this discussion about starseeds for people to realize that this is such a broad topic, and we cannot limit people, and people shouldn't limit themselves either, to needing a definitive answer. And I often say to people, if, for example, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, but let's just say that in a reading, you pick up a person's from Sirius, the Pleiades, wherever it is, I always say to them, but don't let that become an identity. Because I find so often that people do. I find so often that people go, oh, I'm Lyrian, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm from Orion. And then I think, but that's not true. Because the truth is, we're all from source. That's our original home. Originally, we are from oneness. Originally, we are all from the womb of oneness. And of course, we individuated and went on many varied journeys. But my perspective is simply that taking any planet as your identity is as crazy as taking a country as your identity. So, for example, you could say, I'm American, and I could say I'm South African. But is that who I am? No, of course not. That's just the country that I happen to be born to and live in. And yes, I resonate with it, but it's not an identity. So I share that, and I'd love to hear your feedback about, or your opinion about what I'm saying. I share that because I just find a lot of people move too much into creating identities for themselves, which could become quite limiting. What do you say?
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. I really, really love your perspectives. And just, you know, to give my perspectives on what you were just discussing. First of all, you know, as you said first, that you know, you believe that there are billions of planets that even just in our galaxy that we may draw from. I would say, just from my perspective, I would say that it's likely, I do believe, just from what I do believe currently, that it is somewhat limited, that the pool of star seeds that are on this planet, because this is
there's definitely some dominant places, which seem to be like central hubs.
Yes. And the reason that I believe that to be true is because these are like I said, these are the races that are most directly interacting with us. And I don't believe that every race out there is interacting with the Earth, because it wouldn't be, I don't think it would make much sense on a grander scale, because the Earth is just, it's true that there's millions or billions of planets out there, then the Earth is just one, you know. So why everyone coming to Earth, right? You know, there's other planets out there. So that to me, that's just my perspective. And again, I could be totally wrong on that. I could be totally wrong. Now, from the other part of it, like everything, this is from my perspective, like everything in the spiritual journey, it's a paradox. So the answer is always yes and yes, actually. So yes, it is true that it is a part of your identity that you are from Lyra. Yes, it is a part of your identity that you are from South Africa. Yes, it is a part of your identity that you're a reader and a spiritual teacher and an internet show host. Yes, this is part of your identity, but there is also that part of you that is beyond identities.
Oh, yeah.
It's both. It is both. So what I find is, and the reason I say this is because there's a pendulum here, and people can swing to both sides. And actually, both sides are in the same realm of the spiritual ego. And someone can swing to the side of, I am a Syrian, I am an ascended master, I am God, I am this, and it just becomes a part of, and it becomes another shell. It becomes another ego shell that is actually no different than I am white, or I am, American, or I like, baseball or whatever, or I like Indian food, right? And it becomes, when it becomes part of someone's identity, that there's nothing wrong with having identities, nothing at all. And I encourage people, this sounds a little weird, but I encourage people to embrace their identities. I really do. At the same time that you embrace your identity, someone who truly can embrace their identity without totally identifying with it, there you found the balance. You found the balance between ego and spirit.
Yeah. So not
the other side, right? Because people can also swing to the other side of the pendulum, which is I identify with nothing. I am just source. I am nothing. I am not white or black or anything. And it becomes another ego identity. The ego structure becomes, I am nothing. I am only source. And yes, it's true. But when someone denies, like, oh, don't say that I'm from the United States, because that's just a fake made up country and yes, maybe it is a fake made up thing drawn by lines by, Rockefeller in whenever, right? But the human you was born in Chicago or born in New York. And why are you running away from that? Because it can go the other direction, where people run away from themselves by running into some sort of spiritual identity, even that if that identity is I am nothing. So to me, that just like everything is a paradox, it is important. It really is important that you know what type of starseed you are. Is it crucial? Will it make or break your spiritual journey? No, absolutely not. If you didn't know, would you still be able to complete the work that you're meant to do? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you are meant to know, right? Maybe the soul really wants you to know. So you find out, whether it's through me or through you or just on your own, because you can figure this out on your own. You don't need me. Yeah. You don't need you, you can figure it out on your own. But rather than running away from that, we embrace it as a part of ourselves, as just another thing to know about ourselves. Another thing to know. Like I recently I was having a talk with my mother, and I found out things about my grandparents that I never knew. And it's like, now like something clicked. Like, now I understand why I've gone through certain struggles. I can see the karma that I'm transmuting. And it's another thing to know, because again, you are so multidimensional, and there's so many different aspects of you. And the more you know about yourself, it feels good. That's, I would say, the number one thing. It just feels good to know. It doesn't change anything necessarily. No, it doesn't. You still have to be human, and you still have to go to work. You still got to pay the bills. You still got to heal from whatever illnesses you have. You still got to take care of your kids or your wife or your husband or whatever, or your parents. It doesn't change that, but it's nice to know, basically.
Yeah, I hear you completely. I think that identities is a part of a journey, but the journey began in oneness, and the journey ends in oneness. And the phase of identities is definitely an in-between part of the journey. And eventually we release all of that stuff. I'm always just cautious when people cling a little bit too tight.
Well, and here's the thing, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate with that. I mean, yes, this is obviously true, but what if the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, is a conscious being? You would probably agree that it is, right?
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
So would that Milky Way galaxy identify as, I am the Milky Way galaxy, and yet I am also source? Because I think it would. I don't know. This is way above my head, but that's what I would think.
Yeah, I think it would identify. We all have a sense of self. But there's a difference between having a sense of self connected to, because this is what I would imagine the Milky Way galaxy, and I do love the question you're posing, by the way. But my sense of it is, and it would be lovely to hear what the listeners feel about this, my sense of it is that the Milky Way, as that multidimensional experience of being. There is no individual I, me, little self. There is only a sense of who I am in relation to everything else. There's only a sense of
Yeah,
the
I like that. I
interconnectedness of
like that.
everything.
I like that.
So,
I like
so
that.
a galaxy, which is a being, absolutely, a galaxy would have a sense of we am. I was going to say I am, but that wouldn't be true. It would be more of a we. It would be more of a collective sense of self in relation to all the other galaxies expressing themselves. And then aware of the great oneness as well. So at that level of high dimensionality, there is a concept of the self, but very much like dolphins do, by the way. Dolphins do this so perfectly, they do it so seamlessly. Dolphins identify as the individual that they are as well as the pod that they're in. They're both. And it's so
Dogs
interwoven.
do that too, actually, I would say. You know, dogs, their sense of identity is so tied into their family.
Wow, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's very, very true.
The dog star. I love dogs.
Oh, we lost Matthew for a moment.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we lost your video feed. You still with us though, right?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Can
can
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what happened is a call came through and I'm just waiting for it to cancel itself out. Should be about a sec. I have it on do not disturb, so there's nothing I can do about that.
There you are, back again.
Yeah.
Um, so I had the wonderful privilege of doing a number of dolphin swims in the States, of all places,
Cool.
which is crazy, by the way, because I live on a coastline. It just happens to be illegal on the coastline that I live on to swim with dolphins. So,
Interesting.
yeah, very. So I landed up in the Florida Keys doing a couple of dolphin swims. But this was oh, two, God, I don't even remember. I think early 2000s, somewhere around about there. And I had amazing experiences with numerous dolphins, but one in particular where I was at a swim facility with this dolphin, and my heart just broke because I was like, first of all, these phenomenal beings, how they can be in captivity when you can connect with the infinite intelligence that they are. So I'm swimming with this dolphin and she's showing me a stargate. She's showing me what people would call a wormhole or a stargate from Sirius to here. And she shows me, and it literally felt like seconds. It felt like seconds, and I was with her on this journey to her home planet and back again. And she did it a couple of times so that I would get this lovely trajectory and this link. And she goes, whenever I want to go home, I can go there, but I'm also in my body, but I'm also there, but I'm in my body and I'm there. And so she was really flitting, but consciously flitting between the two realities. And then
Wow.
showing me, here I am in captivity because it was my issue. My issue was the sympathy. My issue was, oh God, us terrible humans, we've put you in captivity. It's so cruel. It's
But it
so
was
blah,
out of
blah, blah.
service, right? From the perspective of that soul.
Yeah, from the perspective of that soul, she had very much chosen to be there. She was very much aligned with her journey there for the time that she was talking to me. And
Right.
I said to her, but you know, you're swimming, and I was swimming alongside her. We're having this conversation, and I said to her, everywhere you swim, there's fences. There's just you're cordoned off, and I personally suffer from claustrophobia. So I'm saying to her, how do you do it? And she says, I am as large as my pod, and she shows me psychically and telepathically her connection to her pod, and they are just flying through the ocean, and she's with them as much as she's in her body. So I share this with you as an
That's
example.
fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, it was one of the most amazing conversations, really, of my life, and I've had many, but that was a really good one because I learned so much. I learned so much about our nature as multidimensional beings, of what we're capable of as multidimensional, you know, and about the journey home as well. Because I agree with what you said about when people connect with their family, their cosmic family, their soul family. I know what you're talking about. It's like the lights come on, and you must feel it, and I feel it too. There's this wonderful sense of yes that you have for that person, isn't it? It's like a real
Yeah.
celebration.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
when they
Absolutely.
have that moment.
Hmm.
And we all, and when I say we all, I refer to us conscious people, have a real longing for home. And
Yes.
what I always say is, let's remember though, that as starseeds, we came to bring home here.
Yeah.
So I get the desire to go home, but I also get that part of the starseed journey is to bring home here. So to remember the journey of being there, who you were there, and bring it back here. It's not about, okay, cheers, guys, I'm out of here. It's about bringing that the connection to that cosmic family, to your multidimensional self, into the physical body, into the earth plane, and then you are truly living the purpose of a star seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree 1,000% with everything you just said. And I would add that, you know, it's something that every single starseed goes through, is that feeling of being an outcast, of being
Mm,
unwanted, of being
mm,
like you're a square peg in a round hole, like you don't fit in. You know, a lot of starseeds, we had that experience in school of not fitting in, of just
mm.
being different and
Oh yeah.
not really having difficulty really kind of establishing a social group. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
starseeds went through that. A lot of starseeds have, as I said, have gone through a lot of human trauma in
Yeah.
childhood, and it's
Mm,
all part of it. So to me, I found that whole paradigm of missing home, whatever that is, it's a part of it, and it's okay. And
mm,
I encourage people to embrace that. It's okay. It's okay to feel
mm,
like you're away from home and you miss it, but knowing, just like everything you said, that you are
mm,
here for an essential purpose,
mm,
that you are here on this planet to bring those codes from your
mm,
star-seeded self, to bring in that sort of knowledge, wisdom, awareness, and tools from
mm.
your star-seeded self, from your star-seeded collective into the earth plane to
Yeah.
assist in this process. Because like I said, you know, the Syrians are the ones on the planet. I mean, this is not universal, but the Syrians are, you know, a lot of the people that are really out there in the public. You
Mm,
know, for some reason, being Syrian, we tend to be pretty comfortable being out there, like
mm,
being seen. The Pleiadians, not as much. The Pleiadians would be more generally working in the background. And it's not universal, I'm just saying. The
mm,
Arcturians are the builders.
mm,
These are the one are architects, you know,
mm,
city planners. Are I have a client who's an Arcturian that he's creating like new agriculture, incredible stuff, like hydroponic agriculture for the future, like
mm,
stuff, wild stuff, right?
mm,
These are our Arcturian starseeds generally, you know.
mm,
So just so there, everyone has a role. Everyone has a role, and that's why it is kind of cool to know. And it
mm,
just something like you said, something could kind of click, like, oh, that's why I've always kind of felt different. And oh, that's why I've kind of always felt special in a way.
mm,
And that's
mm,
why I love looking at the stars, right?
mm,
That's why I love the ocean and whales and dolphins and
mm,
animals and all that. So I really, I do want, it would be my wish for everyone who is a starseed to at some point become aware that they are. And I would, my belief is that it's a part of it. My belief is that the self-awareness mechanism is a part of the starseed program, that our starseed itself incarnates into the earthly body, knowing that there will be a period of where it just won't remember and it just really takes on the earth karma. And then there will be a
mm.
time when
Yeah.
it becomes
Yeah.
aware that it is a starseed. So that's why I do believe that it's a wonderful thing to
Mm,
become aware of it.
mm. Oh, I do agree with you. I think there is a lovely little aha moment that people have when they get a sense of where they've been, and then they also get to go beyond that place and discover that there's a home beyond home. So the starseed journey is going, okay, so I identify with myself here in this dimensionality or this planetary experience. I now get to experience beyond that, even, because that to
Yeah.
me is also part of the starseed journey. Is so now can you go beyond that identity into what else you are. Because we all, just like the Milky Way, has the sense of itself as one of many galaxies. So too do we get to have a sense of ourselves as one of many other
Selves.
universes. Yeah, exactly, exactly. We are each a universe, right? And each one of us connects to each other, going, there's another me, and there's another me, and there's another me. So
Hmm.
we're just raising consciousness here. We're just raising awareness. And I think I certainly remember being a young girl and being taught at school the only planet with life on it is planet Earth. Yeah, exactly, Matthew. That was my response as well. And I remember going, but that's the
Yeah, me
loneliest
too. I
thing to
never
think.
thought that made any sense at all. I remember being in school not thinking a lot of what they were
Yeah,
teaching made any sense at all. And I know a lot of people
absolutely.
listening right now can identify with that as well.
I'm quite sure. Now, here's a question for you. We're talking star seeds. What's an earth seed?
I don't know. I actually haven't heard that term.
So, if we're talking star seeds, we're talking about beings who've come from either other dimensions or even other planets, other star systems here. But what about the people who originated here?
Hmm.
What about the beings that originated with Earth who aren't star seeds?
Um, I would say that these are people who have just had human incarnations over and over again,
Right?
and they haven't really, the ascension activation hasn't been programmed to occur perhaps in this lifetime, but it will in a different lifetime. Just my belief up until now, and you may have a different perspective on this, and I'd love to hear it, is that the ascension lifetime, there is a star seed itself that comes in to facilitate that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, my sense of it is, and that's why I asked you for yours, just because people don't generally talk about it. People generally talk star seeds, which does then raise the question, but what about the non-star seeds? Like, what about the beings? Because if we think of somebody who's originated here on Earth, Earth has been through many ascension and descension cycles. So, just from a purely logical perspective, the Earth beings who have originated on this planet have been through many different incarnations in many different dimensional
I
experiences.
would say maybe, but not necessarily. I would say not necessarily, because a soul can come into, for example, a soul might have only come into this earthly experience after the end of the last age of light, and not before, for example, because I think this has to do with really the age of souls. And
Right.
whereas energetically speaking, a younger soul, meaning less experience, is going to be at a lower vibration, and all that means is that they're not activated yet. They're not
Yeah.
ready to be activated yet. Whereas the star seeds and the light workers are older souls that have
Yeah.
been through more experience and thus are ready. Because
Yeah.
it's, everything in reality takes experience. Everything takes, to me, it takes the experience of being, perhaps an elemental, and then an animal, and a
Mm,
plant and an animal, and many plants and many animals, and
mm,
all that. So
mm,
again, I don't know though. This is just
mm,
my perspective up until now. I'm happy to report that I don't know, but this is my theory, and
mm,
I'd love to hear yours.
mm. I because it's a topic that's not talked about too much. The only place really that I can go for information is inside. And when I do, my sense is this. My sense is we like to think of third dimensional beings as very lowly, kind of like, ah, they don't quite get it yet. They haven't quite ascended yet. And we talk about new souls, young souls, but for me, I don't think that there is such a thing as a new soul or a young soul, because we are all ultimately one. You see, that's always the place that my brain goes to, is we are all ultimately one. Therefore, we all came from the highest possible place. Yes, we individuated into separate experiences, different experiences. So somebody who is right now experiencing themselves on planet Earth could have this as their only third dimensional lifetime, because perhaps they've been hanging out in the 11th dimension for all this time. We are infinite. We are all equally infinite, though. I don't think any of us are younger or older than anybody
Okay.
else. This is just my perspective.
Yeah, and you know, personally, I would disagree with that, and I would say that just like everything is a paradox, and that the answer is always yes and yes, is that yes, we are all infinite consciousness, we are all source, we all come from source, and we return to source. Yet there is a journey, and every soul's journey is very complex and takes an eternity, perhaps. And there is a progression. There is a progression through
So
the
you think it's a
dimensions.
linear progression?
I think it's not necessarily linear, but there is for the soul itself, it is somewhat linear. That's my current understanding and belief.
So we start, say, at first or second, and then move up to third, fourth, linear in
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes, that is my current understanding. Yeah. And then, you know, after this, we graduate to perhaps being spirit guides, to perhaps even the Bodhisattva paradigm, where we come back onto Earth to continue our work in the ascension, you know, in the ascension paradigm. But we don't take on the karma anymore. You know, I do believe that there are a select few Bodhisattvas here now, and these are the people that generally they didn't have very difficult childhoods. And I know it's it seems like kind of a simple way to look at it, but there wasn't that much earthly karma to take on. So that's at least my current understanding. There are some, and some of us may go on to be those Bodhisattvas in the next incarnation. Some of us may go on to be spirit guides, and then we train to really become more etheric beings, and then eventually we, you know, the next levels are what? Creators of worlds, creators of, because the training is here, is being a physical being. This is where the training is most difficult as far as creating, because you have a physical body, you have a subconscious mind, you have a conscious mind, and you got to get them all to work together. And then you also have a life plan. So you have free will, but you're navigating through a life plan that's kind of in certain ways set for you, right? So this is real intense training for how do we create? How do we create with intention? You know, intention is the key word, because how does a galaxy get created? With intention. How does a planet get created? With intention, right? So it's an intention-based reality. So that's what we're being trained for. And as we move on into the higher realms, you know, eventually then, yes, we take this experience, our soul takes this experience of being physical beings for so many incarnations, and being even in the other realms. I mean, if we think about perhaps a Syrian being operating at the fifth dimensional frequency, is that soul ready to create an entire planet? Probably not, but it's a progression, you know. An Andromedan being that is operating from the 9th or 10th, 11th, 12th dimension, are they ready to create an entire planet? Maybe. You know what I mean? So this is just the way I see it. I could be totally off on this, that there is a linear progression, but yes, at the same time, we are all everything.
Yeah, you explain yourself really well, and I completely understand your understanding of linearity. I just feel like we are not time-based things, non-linear things. We are multi-dimensional now. As you and I sit here, we are third dimensional, and we're fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and we exist in the God worlds. We exist in all of those places simultaneous to this one. We have been fifth dimensional selves when we were on Sirius or Lyra or wherever it is, and we've come into a third dimensional experience. So I don't, and again, I love what you say. You so often go to, but this is my perspective. And I think that's all any of us can share, isn't it? Is this is the world how I feel it. This is the world how it resonates for me. And there will be those that go, yeah, Matthew, John, I get you. I completely am in alignment with you. And there'll be others who go, Kerry, you're talking such, I'm not interested in what she's saying. And all of that is cool. This isn't about wrongness and rightness. This is only about sharing of perspectives. And my perspective is that we are all things all the time. So a person who is in 3D now could very well, in my perspective, have come from a ninth, 10th, 11th dimensional consciousness, and for whatever reason, they're coming into a point of creation to recreate something, to rebalance something for themselves. And you know what? Does it really matter to who we are right now? Because who we are right now is ultimately an evolving thing. And as we evolve, we experience thoughts in a broader way. We experience ideas. We experience consciousness in a broader, more expansive way. Matthew, you will. I know I certainly will. I always get very cautious, when people say to me, "This is how it is." I get very cautious because, as you and I
Should
are
be.
both so yeah, you and I are both so clear, Matthew, around this is how it feels for me right now.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
invite everyone listening to do exactly the same thing, to get a good sense for themselves of what life feels like for you. Use these conversations to make you think. Use these conversations to make you question, and use yourself always as the barometer to check in with what your personal truth is.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that. I really do. And to me, is something to leaving an air of mystery to life, because it is so
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah.
It is so complex, and we know it's complex because I know it's complex because I learn new things and I learn new perspectives and I change my beliefs and perspectives all the time based on how it's like, wow, I thought this was it, and it's not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
So to leave a bit of an air of mystery means you're aligned with humility, and humility is a trait that only the soul truly knows. An ego cannot truly know humility because it would mean its own death. So to have some, like when I present my perspectives, I really am presenting them with the humility that I really don't know, but this is what I believe. So, and if people out there tended to do that when they presented any opinion, we would have a lot less like arguing on Facebook and YouTube, right?
Oh,
A lot less bickering amongst people. Because
yeah.
especially, I see the light workers doing it in the groups and on YouTube and all that. And it's like, what is this serving?
Exactly.
If we could just present our opinions with that little caveat that I don't know, though, and I'm open to
Yeah.
hearing what you think. That
Yeah.
would, to me, I taught
Yeah.
this in a webinar recently, like this would be the end of arguments. If,
Yeah.
in an argument, it was just like, well, this is my opinion, but I'm really open to hearing yours.
Mm.
Please give
Mm.
me your opinion. I actually genuinely want to hear it. You can't have an argument like that. You can't.
Yeah.
Then it's just sharing,
Yeah. Yeah. So I like being in the unknown with you, Matthew John. High five, dude. It's been so cool talking to you. Thank you so much. Matthew, if people are looking for you, how do they find you? Do you have a website?
I do. It's youaredivinehuman.org. It's all spelled out. I have a whole library of articles, videos that you can check out. And you can also check out my private work. I do the Starseed journeys. I do soul plan readings where I'm reading your life plan. I do intuitive nutrition readings where if you have any physical issues, I'm reading what's going on in your body and putting together a supplement protocol and nutrition protocol to help you with that. I do chakra scans. I do future life progressions where we travel forward in time in this lifetime on your highest possible timeline. Experience what that's like. I do past life regressions where, based on whatever your soul lessons are currently, this is the most relevant lifetimes for you to visit. And just through the power of intention, it always works. And you end up experiencing those most relevant past lifetimes to the type of karma you've been balancing in this lifetime. So you can check those all out on my website. I also offer spiritual mentoring programs and intuitive healing coaching and quantum energy healing to work on your chakras, your aura, and all that to really get you all cleaned up if you're interested in that. And I do offer packages with all of this as well.
Cool. So if you're interested, there you know where to go now. And thank you so much, Matthew, for sharing this time with me. Thank you everybody for tuning in on the live. It was completely touch and go down to the wire because 2 hours before we were due to start, I could not get live on Facebook 5 minutes before we were due to start, I could go live. So that was
it all worked out.
it worked out perfectly. Thank you once again. Thank you, everybody. Lots and lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye all.